A warm evening in late summer, the kind of gathering where laughter fills the air, and the scent of food mixes with the familiar hum of family catching up. Jasmine Turner finds herself surrounded by relatives, but her thoughts are far from the celebration. The living room is alive with the sounds of joy, children running around, old stories being exchanged, and glasses clinking. Yet, for Jasmine, it feels as though she is outside of it all. She's in the middle of it, but her heart is elsewhere. Her gaze drifts across the room, taking in the familiar faces she's seen 1,000 times over. But then, it happens. Her eyes freeze on a woman standing at the far side of the room. For a moment, everything else fades. The woman is laughing, and in that moment, it's like time stops. She doesn't belong here, Jasmine thinks. But then, as the woman turns, the world comes crashing back into focus. The woman's features are unmistakable. It's her. Her heart pounds in her chest. The woman has the same radiant smile, the one that used to brighten every room she entered, the one that Jasmine knew so well. And her laugh, that infectious laugh, how could it be so familiar? Jasmine's mind races, disbelief and dread creeping in. Her daughter, Amara, had been gone for 6 years. 6 years since she fell to her death during that tragic Carnival cruise vacation.
Welcome to Shocking True Crime. Thanks to all our viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay with us for daily updates on the most shocking true crime stories. Don't forget to subscribe.
Jasmine's breath catches in her throat. This can't be happening. For 6 years, Jasmine Turner has carried the unbearable weight of losing her daughter. The pain of that day, the unanswered questions, the void that seemed impossible to fill, she thought that grief was something she had buried deep inside her. It had become her quiet companion, a shadow she had learned to live with. But tonight, everything she thought she knew comes crashing down. Jasmine's fingers tighten around her glass, her mind struggling to grasp what she's seeing. The woman looks just like Amara, her daughter who was supposed to be dead. But standing there in front of her, in the warmth of the reunion, with 3 children at her side and a man beside her, her husband, it's like staring at a ghost, a memory she never thought she'd have to face again. Amara was supposed to be gone. She had fallen during that cruise. The authorities ruled it an accident, and Jasmine had been forced to accept it. But tonight, in the midst of this joyful family gathering, her world shifts. A woman stands before her, and everything Jasmine thought she knew about her daughter's death, about her life, is thrown into question. Could this woman be Amara? Could it really be her? And if so, where has she been all this time? 6 years of grief, of unanswered questions, and now, Jasmine must face a new reality. But one thing is certain, the answers she's been searching for are not what she expected. The past, it seems, has come back to life, more complex, more confusing, and more terrifying than she could have ever imagined. Jasmine Turner had always been a source of strength for those around her. At 41, she had seen more heartache than anyone should have to bear, but still, she continued to give, continuing her work as a grief counselor and community leader in her small town. It was what she knew best, helping others through loss, even though her own pain felt like an unhealed wound. The death of her daughter, Amara, had left her with a hole so vast that no amount of time or therapy could fill it. Jasmine spent her days helping others, all the while wrestling with the question that haunted her every night: why? On the surface, Jasmine appeared to have moved on, her life continuing despite the unbearable grief she carried. Yet, beneath her calm exterior, the grief never truly subsided. The death of her daughter, ruled as an accidental drowning 6 years ago, was never fully understood by Jasmine. It lingered like a shadow, clouding her every thought, keeping her from ever truly healing. She kept busy, focused on her work, her community, and her surviving family members, but in quiet moments, when the world grew still, the pain of losing Amara would come crashing back. Jasmine's love for her daughter was steadfast, a love that only deepened after Amara's death. Even as she went about her life, helping others who faced similar losses, Jasmine's heart was broken. No amount of strength could replace the love she had for Amara, and no amount of distraction could erase the unanswered questions that kept her up at night. What happened to Amara that day? Why hadn't anyone ever really explained it? Her heart refused to accept the official story, the one about an accidental fall during a Carnival cruise vacation. In the back of her mind, a quiet voice had always whispered that there was more to her daughter's death than what the authorities had concluded. Jasmine had buried these doubts for years, pushing them down beneath her grief, focusing instead on the people she could help. But when the woman appeared at that family gathering, a woman who looked unmistakably like Amara, everything Jasmine had buried resurfaced in a wave of shock, disbelief, and most of all, confusion. Jasmine's world was rocked. Could it really be her daughter? Was Amara still alive, somehow living a life that Jasmine had never been told about? The shock of the sight left Jasmine breathless. She had spent 6 years mourning her daughter, and now, in the most unexpected of places, her daughter seemed to appear before her, alive, with a family of her own. Amara was only 19 when she died. Bright, hopeful, and full of dreams, she was the kind of girl who walked into a room and instantly made everyone feel welcome. She had big aspirations of becoming a nurse, to help others in the same way her mother had helped so many. Amara's laugh was infectious, her energy a constant source of light. Her sudden and tragic death, far from a peaceful end, left everyone who knew her devastated. The official conclusion from the authorities was that it was an accident, a fall from the deck of the cruise ship. But Jasmine couldn't shake the feeling that something about that explanation didn't feel right. Amara's life had ended so abruptly, and her memory was now a bittersweet presence in Jasmine's life. Every memory of her daughter, from their quiet conversations to the sound of her laugh, felt like a part of Jasmine that had been ripped away. But this sudden appearance, this woman who looked so much like Amara, forced Jasmine to reconsider everything she thought she knew. It was impossible. It didn't make sense. But there, in front of her, stood a woman who looked like the daughter she had buried 6 years ago. This moment would mark the beginning of a painful, revealing journey for Jasmine. The unresolved questions that had stayed buried in her heart would now rise to the surface. The woman, who, despite everything, might be Amara, became the key to unlocking a story Jasmine never thought she would hear. But the truth, no matter how painful, was the one thing Jasmine had always sought. And now, she was going to find it. No matter the cost. The year is 2023, and the Turner family sets off on what was meant to be the vacation of a lifetime. The excitement aboard the Carnival cruise is palpable as the family settles in, eager to relax and make lasting memories. Jasmine, her husband, and their daughter Amara, newly turned 19, are all smiles, their anticipation glowing as they prepare for days of fun in the sun. Amara, fresh out of high school, full of promise and big dreams, couldn't have been more excited. This was supposed to be a break from reality, a time to bond and recharge. But what was meant to be a joyful escape quickly turned into a nightmare that would change their lives forever. On the evening of April 16, 2023, tragedy struck. Amara, still so full of life, was found dead after falling from the cruise's deck. The official cause? Accidental drowning. The conclusion seemed simple, even though the circumstances surrounding her fall were anything but clear. The investigation was swift, too swift, Jasmine thought. How had her daughter ended up in the water so quickly? No one had witnessed her fall, and the lack of clarity left more questions than answers. Jasmine's grief was compounded by the gnawing feeling that something wasn't right. Her heart refused to accept the official explanation. She could not comprehend how this tragedy had unfolded with no one noticing, no one stepping in to help. Jasmine, why didn't anyone see her fall? How did it happen so quickly? Detective, sometimes, things just happen. We don't always get all the answers. Despite the detective's words, Jasmine's suspicion only deepened. The authorities had closed the case, but Jasmine could not shake the sense that the truth had been left hidden. Her mind constantly wandered back to that night, replaying every detail, every conversation. The truth, Jasmine felt, had to be out there somewhere, she just had to find it. And this lingering doubt, the gnawing feeling that the answers weren't as simple as they seemed, would never let her go. Jasmine never imagined that the one thing she thought was lost forever would come back to her in the most unexpected way. 6 years of pain, 6 years of unanswered questions. Could it all be a mistake, or was her daughter alive this whole time? Was Amara ever truly gone? Or had her death been fabricated, a cover-up for something far more malicious? Jasmine's search for answers begins now, and nothing will stop her, not even the fear of the truth she might uncover. Jasmine's quest for the truth was no longer just about finding Amara. It had become about finding justice for the daughter she had lost, for the pieces of her life that had been torn apart. The answers, she knew, were out there, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for her to uncover them. But as she dug deeper, she realized something darker than she had ever imagined was lurking just beneath the truth. As Jasmine dug deeper into Amara's past, she began to uncover a series of discrepancies that only fueled her suspicions. First, she noticed irregularities in Amara's medical records, things that didn't match up with the timeline of events leading to her death. The police investigation had been cursory at best, with too many unanswered questions. Jasmine couldn't help but wonder, who stood to gain from Amara's death? Why had no one looked closer into her disappearance? The more Jasmine investigated, the more the pieces of her daughter's story seemed to have been deliberately erased. The breakthrough came when Jasmine found an old phone of Amara's tucked away in a drawer, one that hadn't been touched in years. After scrolling through the messages, she found something chilling, a hidden message from Amara, one she had sent to a friend the night before the cruise. In it, Amara expressed fear, revealing that she had planned to leave the ship with someone she didn't trust. As the pieces fall into place, Jasmine begins to see the truth: the death of her daughter was no accident, and the woman she saw at the family gathering is part of a conspiracy too twisted to believe. After weeks of digging, Jasmine finally confronted the woman who resembled Amara. In a quiet, tense moment, they sat across from each other. The woman, visibly shaken, began to speak, revealing a truth Jasmine never could have expected. She wasn't just someone who looked like Amara, she was someone who had known her well. Her name wasn't even what Jasmine had thought. This woman had been living under a false identity for years. The woman confessed that Amara's death was no accident. In fact, Amara had never died at all. Instead, she had been part of a dangerous plan to escape a perilous situation. Amara had been caught in a web of human trafficking, a victim of circumstances that had forced her into hiding. The truth was darker, more twisted than Jasmine could have ever imagined. Amara's death had been a lie, a plan set in motion long before she ever stepped onto that cruise. And now, Jasmine must confront the most painful truth of all. The final revelation sent shockwaves through Jasmine's life. Armed with the truth, she pursued justice relentlessly. The legal battle that followed was intense, and the conspiracy she uncovered was far larger than she could have ever imagined. It wasn't just Amara's death that was a lie, it was a carefully constructed plan, designed to hide the truth from everyone, especially from Jasmine. The woman who had posed as Amara was only a small piece of the web, a victim herself of the human trafficking ring that had ensnared her daughter. Jasmine's fight for justice was long and difficult, but she refused to give up. With the evidence she had uncovered, the case was reopened, and those responsible for Amara's fake death were brought to trial. The courtroom became the stage for the truth to finally emerge, and Jasmine, despite the pain, felt a sense of relief. Her daughter's story would finally be told. Jasmine's journey wasn't just about uncovering the truth, it was about facing a past she thought was gone, and learning to live with the knowledge that the past will always shape the future. Though Amara could never return, Jasmine found a sense of closure. The truth, though painful, had set her on a path of healing, and she vowed to honor her daughter's memory by ensuring that no one else would suffer in silence as she had. As the story of Jasmine and Amara's painful journey comes to a close, viewers are encouraged to take action. Human trafficking remains a dark reality, and organizations dedicated to helping victims need support more than ever. Jasmine's fight for justice, while personal, represents the battle of countless others who have lost loved ones to this cruel world. The video urges viewers to raise awareness and support efforts to protect the vulnerable, ensuring that the silenced voices are heard. What happens when the ones we love vanish? Sometimes, the truth is buried so deep, it takes years to uncover. But some truths are worth the search.
Welcome to Shocking True Crime. Thanks to all our viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay with us for daily updates on the most shocking true crime stories. Don't forget to subscribe.